There's a specific kind of tired that doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from being reachable. You wake up and before your body has fully caught up with your mind, there's already a message, a notification, a request, a subtle pull on your attention. You answer. Because you can. Because it's easier than explaining. Because you don't want to disappoint anyone. And on paper, nothing is wrong. You're not overworked in the traditional sense. You're not in constant crisis, you're just always there, always responding, always available, always on. Yet somehow by the end of the day you feel flattened, foggy, slightly irritated for no clear reason. You sit down to rest, and your body is still tense, like it's waiting for the next interruption. Most people assume this kind of exhaustion means poor boundaries, weak discipline, or a need to disconnect more. But that explanation misses something important. The real problem isn't that you're doing too much. It's that your nervous system never gets to stand down. In this video, we're going to talk about what actually happens in your mind and body when availability becomes a constant state, and why this kind of mental wear is real, cumulative, and deeply misunderstood. Not as a flaw, not as a failure, but as a predictable psychological response to modern life. Reframe. Availability is a cognitive load. Let's start by naming the thing most people never name. Availability is not neutral. Being available requires continuous low-level cognitive effort, even when nothing is happening. Think of it like leaving your front door unlocked all day. No one may come in, but your body stays alert, just a little, all the time. Your brain does something similar when it believes it might be needed at any moment. It keeps part of your attention on standby. This isn't anxiety in the dramatic sense. It's vigilance. And vigilance is expensive. From a psychological perspective, availability creates what's called anticipatory load. Your mind isn't responding to events and it's preparing for them, monitoring, scanning, holding space. That background process uses energy even when you feel like you're doing nothing, which is why you can feel exhausted after a day that looked easy. Nothing big happened, but nothing ever fully stopped either. Mechanism explanation. What your nervous system is doing. To understand this more clearly, we need to talk about your nervous system. Your nervous system has two broad modes that matter here. One is activation, the other is restoration. Activation helps you respond, decide, communicate, adjust. It's useful, necessary. Restoration is where repair happens. Digestion improves, muscles soften, mental noise lowers. The problem is not being active. The problem is being indefinitely active. When you're always available, your nervous system doesn't receive a clear signal that it's safe to power down. There is no boundary that says, nothing is expected from you right now. Even if no one is actively asking for something, your system stays semi-engaged. Neuroscientists sometimes describe this as persistent sympathetic tone, a low but constant level of readiness, not fight or flight, more like stay alert, just in case. Over time, this creates mental wear. Your attention becomes fragmented, your patience shortens, your ability to feel pleasure or depth quietly dulls. And because this wear is subtle, you often blame yourself. You think you should be more resilient, more organized, more grateful. But the biology tells a different story. Your system is doing exactly what it evolved to do when access is unlimited and rest is undefined. The emotional layer. Why this hits certain people harder. Not everyone feels this the same way. If you're naturally attentive to others, emotionally perceptive, or conscientious, availability costs you more. Because you don't just answer messages, you receive people, you track tone, you notice shifts, you hold emotional context. That means every interaction leaves a residue. Not because you're weak, but because your mind processes relational information deeply. This is especially true for people who learned early in life that being responsive was how connection stayed intact. When availability once meant safety, belonging, or peace, Your nervous system treats it as important work, so even rest feels incomplete when access is still open. Practical Tool 1. Creating false endings. One of the most effective ways to reduce mental wear is to give your nervous system something it desperately needs. Endings, not permanent ones, just clear ones. Your brain relaxes when it knows a loop is closed. A simple example: instead of "I'll check messages later," use a defined window. This channel is closed until tomorrow morning. You don't have to announce this to anyone. This is an internal signal. When your system knows there is a boundary, it stops scanning. Even better, pair this with a physical cue. Put the phone in another room. Close a laptop lid. Change lighting. The body understands actions more than intentions. You're not avoiding people. You're completing a cycle. Practical Tool 2. Reducing relational multitasking. Another hidden drain comes from doing multiple relational tasks at once. Replying while listening, half reading while thinking about how to respond, being present without being finished. This keeps your attention divided and your nervous system unsettled. Instead, practice single-channel availability. When you're available, be fully available for a defined time. When you're not, be unavailable without guilt. This reduces total wear, even if the amount of interaction stays the same. Intensity is less draining than ambiguity. Practical Tool 3. Shifting from response mode to choice mode. Always being available puts you in response mode. Response mode is reactive. Choice mode is intentional. A small shift that helps. Pause before responding, even briefly. Not to delay others, but to ask your system whether this is a now, later, or no. That pause restores agency. Agency is calming. You are not removing kindness. You are adding structure. Warnings and caveats. When this feels harder than expected. For some people, availability is tied to deeper patterns. If you have ADHD, your attention regulation already costs more energy, so constant access compounds fatigue. If you are highly sensitive, your sensory and emotional intake is higher, making availability more taxing. If you have a history of relational instability, unavailability may trigger discomfort or guilt. This doesn't mean the tools won't work. It means the transition needs compassion. You're not just changing habits. You're teaching your nervous system a new definition of safety. That takes repetition and patience. Psychological support. What this says about you. If this video resonates, there is nothing wrong with you. Your exhaustion is not a character flaw. It's a signal. It says your system is carrying more relational load than it was designed to hold continuously. It says you care, you notice, you respond. Those are strengths. They just need containment. You don't need to become less available as a person. You need availability to stop being your default state. Rest is not something you earn by finishing everything. Rest happens when your system knows nothing is being asked of it. Closing. Reframing the narrative. Let's bring this together. The mental wear of always being available doesn't come from weakness. It comes from sustained vigilance without closure. Your nervous system isn't broken. It's tired of standing at the door. When you create clear endings, defined windows, and intentional access, you're not withdrawing from life. You're giving your mind the conditions it needs to recover. Availability, when chosen, is generosity. Availability, when constant, is erosion. Learning the difference changes everything. Additional resources related to this topic are available below, including a downloadable guide and a continuation video that expands on nervous system recovery and modern attention fatigue. Take what resonates. Leave the rest. And remember, you don't need to disappear to feel rested. You just need permission to be unreachable sometimes, even to yourself.